So in this video today, we're going to be talking about what are the best investments that you can make in your 20s. Now, we've all heard the advice before of investing in yourself and investing in your skills. And while that is great advice and something you should be doing in your 20s, what I want to focus on instead in this video are tangible investments that you can make to set yourself up for success financially. And so in this video, we're going to cover the top 5 investments in my opinion, based on my experience as somebody who has built up a fair amount of wealth in their 20s. This is what I would recommend, but guys, keep in mind, this is not any kind of financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. Alright, so coming in at number 1 on my list here is becoming an owner-occupied real estate investor. And so what I recommend doing is making it a goal in your 20s to purchase a 2 to 4 unit property and rent out the other units to offset your mortgage. Now, this is a much better strategy, in my opinion, than just going out there and buying that single family home, because first of all, you're going to have the potential to earn income from that property if you have multiple units. And second of all, you can take advantage of all of the tax write-offs and benefits associated with being a real estate investor. Maybe down the road in your late 20s or in your 30s, you decide that you want to have that single family house. But what you could do is then at that point in time, purchase that house and still keep the multi-unit property, which should be cash flow positive. So at that point, you have one property making you money, which is now offsetting that single family residence. So just for example's sake, here is what I ended up doing. Last year in June, I ended up purchasing a 3-unit property that also had a cottage, giving it a lot of income potential. Now, when I bought that property, I ended up doing an FHA loan, which is very little money down. So I ended up putting just $22,000 down to purchase this property. And essentially, I live in one of the units and I rent the other ones out to cover part of the mortgage. Now, I actually just refinanced and I went with a conventional loan instead, and that's a topic for another video most likely, but I want to share with you guys the current numbers on this property to show you how lucrative being an owner-occupied real estate investor can be. So now that I completed my refinance and got rid of the PMI and lowered my interest rate, my mortgage is now $2,450 per month on this property. Well, as mentioned earlier, there are 2 apartments and there's a cottage on the property, which I am renting out. Now, the combined rental income from the 2 apartments is a total of $1,575, and then I actually just finished remodeling that cottage, and I'm going to be renting that out to a family member for $500 per month. So in total, the rental income from this property is $2,075 per month. So when you do the math on that, you take my mortgage minus the rental income, I am paying just $375 per month to live in this residence. And essentially what house hacking can do for you is it allows you to minimize, or in some cases eliminate, what for most people is their largest monthly expense. And then you can take that surplus income, which would have ordinarily been going towards your housing payment, and direct that towards other investment vehicles, which we will discuss right now. So coming in at number 2 on my list here, guys, the next investment that you should consider in your 20s is an investment in the stock market. Now, there's a number of different ways to do this. You could do it with a taxable brokerage account. You could do it with a retirement account like a 401k, which we're going to talk about that next, so we're going to hold off on that for now. But there's many different ways to invest in the stock market. All that matters is that you actually do it and get started in your 20s. Because there's this magical phenomenon out there referred to as compound interest. And essentially what this comes down to is the longer you allow your money to grow, the more your money is going to grow. And it's an exponential growth curve, not a linear curve. So it doesn't matter necessarily how much you're putting in. All that matters is that you get started as early as possible, ideally in your early 20s. So for example, let's consider this right here. Let's say you invested just $50 per week from age 20 to age 30 and earned an annualized rate of return of 8%, which is the average return from the stock market after accounting for inflation. Now, $50 a week certainly doesn't sound like a heck of a lot of money. In fact, most people in their 20s are spending that when they go out to eat with their friends or their significant other. But if you just put $50 per week aside and you followed this, you would have $34,767.75. Now, beyond that, let's consider if you just left that money there. You didn't add any more to it. You simply invested $50 per week from age 20 to 30. At age 30, you didn't touch it and you left it for another 30 years. Well, here's where things get interesting. The value of that account would grow to $349,855.94. We're talking $350,000 from $50 per week from age 20 to 30 and then nothing thereafter, and just leaving your money sitting there doing nothing except for growing and reinvesting those dividends. And then get the gears turning and think about if you did $100 per week or $150 per week, or rather than stopping at age 30, if you continue to do this for your entire life up until age 60, you could easily retire a millionaire and get to a point where money becomes totally irrelevant. And it's important to understand here, guys, the strategy I'm talking about here is not day trading or swing trading or anything crazy like that. I'm talking about passively investing in the stock market through index funds, which essentially allow you to own the entire market, a little piece of all of the companies out there. You passively invest into these index funds and you allow your money to grow over a long period of time. So in your 20s, I would make it a goal to passively invest into the stock market, whatever amount you can afford per week. If you can do $50 a week, that's great. If you can do even more, that's even better because it's going to be more money in the long run. And if you are interested in getting started with investing in the stock market, there's a great commission-free trading app out there called Webull, which offers index funds and other stocks out there completely commission-free with a $0 minimum balance. You can get started with this brokerage with pretty much any amount of money that you have. And the exciting part is, if you open up an account with them, you're going to get up to 2 completely free stocks. You get the first stock when you open the account, and you get the second free stock when you fund it with $100 or more on your initial deposit. If you guys want to check that out, that's the top link down in the description below. And full transparency here, guys, I am affiliated with Webull, so I may earn a commission in the process if you decide to use that link to invest in the stock market. All right, so coming in at number 3 here, guys, the third investment to make in your 20s is contributing to a 401k if you have the option to do so. Now, for those who are not familiar, a 401k is an employer-sponsored retirement plan where essentially your employer sets this up for you, where you have the ability to contribute some of your pre-tax dollars towards this retirement account. Now, many years ago, every employer pretty much offered a 401k. There's a lot of people that now work part-time and they may not have this option available to them. But if you do have the option, you should consider investing in your 401k. And this is the strategy that I personally recommend. Now, first of all, it's important to understand that your 401k is a super long-term investment. It is an investment for your retirement. And because you're putting away your money pre-tax, there are very strict limitations on utilizing that money. So you can't exactly put that money in there and then down the road take it out without paying penalties and taxes. In some cases you can, but for the most part, you want to think about locking that money away for the next 30 to 40 years if you are in your 20s. So that being said, I certainly don't recommend stuffing every dollar that you have into your 401k because you also want to have some money available to you for purchasing real estate or anything like that. However, what I recommend doing is contributing to your 401k the amount that your employer will match, assuming that they do so. So for example, at my old job, when I worked a 9 to 5, my employer had a 401k and they also had a company match plan where they would match you dollar for dollar 50% of your contribution up to 3%. So what I went ahead and did is I contributed 6% of my pre-tax income to my 401k and they matched 50% of that or 3%. So I put in 6%, they put in 3%, and so effectively 9% of my pre-tax income was going into my 401k. Now, I was comfortable with this because that left me with enough money to direct towards my savings and save up for my real estate purchase and things like that, but it also allowed me to take advantage of the free money that they were offering through the employer match. So if your company offers some kind of company match, I would recommend investing up until the amount that they will match because it's literally free money that they are offering you. But that being said, I wouldn't necessarily go crazy and put all of your money into your 401k because you really can't touch it except for some very specific use cases. So consider it to be money you're putting away for the next 30 to 40 years, and you don't want to go crazy and leave all of your money where you can't touch it. So the fourth investment, in my opinion, to make in your 20s is purchasing quality stuff. I can't stress this one enough, guys, because I see a lot of people in their 20s who are ending up furnishing their apartment or moving out of their parents' house. They go to Walmart or they go to IKEA and they buy crappy particle board furniture because it's cheaper up front and they think they're getting a good deal. But what I want to encourage you to do is think about spending a little bit more money and getting quality stuff in your 20s that could potentially last you the rest of your life. Because the problem is when you go out there and you buy the $50 TV cabinet or the $75 dresser, that piece of furniture is really only going to last you a couple of years if you're lucky. Whereas if you go out there and purchase a quality piece of furniture, you could literally have that for your entire life. In fact, the dresser that I'm using now was my mom's childhood dresser from the 1960s that still works just fine because it's a quality piece of furniture. I can guarantee you guys that that $75 IKEA or Walmart dresser is not going to be around 50 years from now because it's just not meant to be durable and to last that long. So for example, guys, earlier this year, I decided to buy a barbecue grill. Now, when I was pricing these out, I was looking at all kinds of different grills out there. So on Walmart, the cheapest grill I could possibly buy was around $80. However, I decided to go with a Weber grill, which cost me significantly more at a price tag of $380. The truth is that $80 grill from Walmart would probably last me 2 seasons if I'm lucky, meaning I'm gonna have to replace it pretty much every 2 years if I keep buying the cheapest grill. On the other hand, the Weber grill that I purchased for significantly more money has a 10-year warranty and will likely last a lot longer. So as a result, even though I'm paying more money up front, the lifetime cost of owning that Weber grill is going to be cheaper because I have to replace it less frequently. It's gonna last a heck of a lot longer. So rather than just considering the upfront cost associated with an item, I encourage you to purchase quality stuff that's going to last a lot longer and consider the overall lifetime cost of owning that item. And lastly, guys, coming in at number 5 on my list here is establishing your emergency fund. Now, this is just as important as number 1 and number 2 on the list, but I know it's kind of a boring one, so I decided to save this for last. However, do not underestimate the importance of setting aside your emergency fund in your 20s. According to a survey from Go Banking Rates, 69% of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. That's more than 2/3 of Americans have less than $1,000. So what ends up happening is people end up with an unexpected expense, and since they have less than $1,000, they can't pay for it. So they end up putting it on a credit card, which often carries an interest rate of 20% or more. And then what happens is that expense that popped up that they didn't have the cash for is now accruing interest at a 20% rate, which is an insanely high amount of money. And then they get stuck in debt. They're stuck servicing their credit cards, and they're really stuck in this bad financial situation or the debt cycle. So essentially, in order to avoid getting in this situation of putting emergency expenses on a credit card, it is critical to set aside an emergency fund for unexpected expenses. In fact, most experts recommend setting aside 6 months of all of your expenses in a liquid savings account, separate from your other money. That way you don't confuse it for other money and spend it on something that is non-emergency. An emergency fund should only be used if you're in a dire emergency for a medical expense or a vehicle repair or something like that. So what I would recommend doing in your 20s, you don't have to go crazy and put all of your money into your emergency fund, but I want you to start building it up over time. So let's say, for example, you were putting 5% of your pay into your 401k and then $50 per week into the stock market. You should also put $50 per week into a separate savings account to build up an emergency fund over time. And it may take 2 to 3 years to build that fund up, but you eventually want to have enough money set aside to cover 6 months of living expenses in case of emergency. So anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Those are, in my opinion, 5 of the best investments that you can make in your 20s. I would love to hear what you guys think about this down in the comment section below. Do you agree with me or disagree? We can get the conversation started down there. Like I said, if you want to check out Webull and get those 2 free stocks, that is the top link down in the description below. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in the next video.